Hello and welcome to Community Tapestry. My name is Napoleon Bell and I am the Executive Director with the City of Columbus Community Relations Commission. We'd like to welcome you to the program, and we've had a great show planned here for you because actually we went on location to find out more about what's going on in the City of Columbus. In our first segment, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with a couple people that were part of the Charter Review Commission. And the charter is something that hasn't been changed in a long time, but makes a great impact on how our city runs. I had the great opportunity to sit down with the chair and co-chair of the Charter Review Commission to talk about some of the recommended changes that they have going forward that you, the community, will have an opportunity to vote on this November. I'd like to welcome the co-chairs of the Columbus Charter Review Commission. We have to my left Mr. Mike Curtin. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Napoleon.
And next to him is Marshall Moore. I'd like to welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
We're sitting here talking about the Charter Review and what that is. What is the Charter and what is the review and why are they doing it? So we have these two distinguished people here to talk about that, to really open up the eyes of the community and help them understand what it is all about and how it impacts the community. So appreciate you being here. So let's just get started. Mike, I'd like to first start with you. What is the city charter and then why is it being changed?
The city charter is the fundamental law, the supreme law of the city of Columbus. In Ohio, municipalities have the right to adopt a charter. They've had that right since 1912 when the Home Rule Amendment was adopted to the Ohio Constitution. Following that 1912 adoption, the residents, the voters of the city of Columbus adopted a Home Rule Charter in May of 1914. That charter spells out the rights, the duties, the obligations of the city, its office holders, what they can do, what they cannot do. So that document this year is 100 years old, and like any document that's 100 years old, it's got a lot of cobwebs in it. It needed to be cleaned up, it needed to be brought into the 21st century, and so the Charter Review Commission, a 5-member commission of which Marshall and I co-chaired, spent 3 months reviewing it, having public hearings, taking recommendations, and we've now forwarded 19 recommendations to Columbus City Council, which they have packaged into 3 proposed issues on the November 4th ballot, issues 6, 7, and 8. So the charter is a fundamental law, and every now and then it needs to be updated, and that's what this is all about.
Great. So it's being changed just because it's been so long since it's been updated.
Well, there have been updates over that century. There have been any number of updates. I think about 60 amendments to the charter, all told. But there have only been a handful of comprehensive reviews, and there has not been a comprehensive review for the better part of 2 decades, 16 or 17 years ago. So this was the first comprehensive review from front cover to back cover in, I'd say, almost 2 decades, and there was just a lot to clean up, and hopefully the voters will help us clean it up on November 4th.
Great. Well, Marshall, let me turn to you. How did the city come up with these city amendments?
Well, earlier this year, 5 community leaders were asked to get together and review the charter. And again, this is the first comprehensive review since 1998. So as Mike said, it just needed to be refreshed and we needed to take a look at it. The commission held 9 public meetings, and all of the work of the commission was posted on www.columbus.gov/Charter Review Commission. The meetings were open and public. The public was invited to come in and participate. We also had public hearings. And the commission sent 19 recommendations to the mayor and city council. And as Mike indicated, out of those recommendations, issues 6, 7, and 8 will appear on the November 4th ballot.
Wow, okay, so a lot of work has gone into this apparently. And you talk about issues 6, 7, and 8. So let me just go back to you, Mike, then. And let's just start off with the first one. What is issue 6 so that we can make sure that the community understands what issue 6 is?
Issue 6, Napoleon, is a package of administrative updates. Administration rules and procedures are incorporated into issue 6. A few highlights of issue 6. One is a strong non-discrimination clause saying that there shall be no discrimination against any citizen of Columbus based on race, color, sexual orientation, so forth and so on. That's already a provision in Columbus City ordinances, but city ordinances can be changed by a vote of council. The city charter can only be changed by a vote of the people. So it takes that non-discrimination clause and it elevates it into the fundamental law of the city, which we think is very important. It's a strong statement about our community and who we are and the fact we don't discriminate, and it's in the highest law of our city. It would require that fundamental city records such as the annual budget be available in electronic form in permanent fashion. There's a 100-year-old requirement in city charter now saying that the annual budget shall be copied 200 times, and those 200 copies should be carted around to all the libraries in town and the newspapers in town. That was fine in its day. That was sunshine in its day. Sunshine today is having records digitally available, online, permanent. So this would require that that those documents be immediately accessible to you and anybody else who wants to access their records. It would require, issue 6 would also require that a Citizens Commission be impaneled at least once every 10 years to do the type of work that this commission did over the past 3 months, to review that charter every 10 years to see if other updates are necessary. And it does a number of other things, one of which would require that Parks and Recreation Commissioners be residents of the City of Columbus. Back when that provision was originally enacted, Columbus was only in Franklin County. Today, Columbus is in 3 or 4 counties as it has grown, and so this catches up with that growth.
Wow. You know, when you talked about issue 6 and especially the piece in regards to elevating the protected civil rights of individuals, I think that is so necessary because selfishly, because our office, you know, enforces the Civil Rights Code. So this is something that really speaks to our growing diversity in the city of Columbus and how we are a welcoming city here in Columbus, and says this is who we are.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate that personally, but also on behalf of all the residents that are out there that are fighting discrimination and wanting to be treated equally. So let's go on to you, Marshall. You know, we're going to 7, issue 7. So you're on the hot seat for issue 7. What is issue 7? What does it do?
Absolutely. Issue 7 covers election, changes in election law, or the election portion of the charter. And this is the first real changes to that provision in the charter in over 80 years. And what it will propose is to follow the best of state election law while protecting nonpartisan city elections. It would also allow the city to regulate campaign finance and disclosure for political candidates and local ballot issues. And lastly, it will make it easier to recall elected officials and hold government accountable with petition processes that are more transparent and fair for Columbus citizens.
That's also good to hear, you know, because, you know, people always worry about, you know, is government really doing the right thing? You know, and so this further and it shows that, you know, we are going to be transparent. We have to be transparent. It is a part of who we are, our being as far as a city. Absolutely. So this is good to have there and permanent, you know, rather than something that could be changed easily. So well, let me go back to you then, Mike. You know, issue 8. You know, we need to hear a little bit about that and what it does.
Issue 8 is all about office holders, a number of provisions that are applicable to all the elected office holders. So that's your mayor, your city attorney, your city auditor, and the 7 members of council. It conforms city ethics provisions to what's already in state law in terms of what would constitute an unlawful interest in a contract. It would contain other ethical provisions that city officials would have to live up to. It would hold them accountable to the same penalties that state office holders are held accountable for if they violate any of these ethics provisions. But it goes a step further and states that if a city office holder is guilty of any of these ethics violations, then they will forfeit their office. And that is even stronger than state law. So it adopts what we think is a best practice standard for high ethical practices, and it's one strike and you're out. If you violate one of them, you'll lose your office. So we think the voters of Columbus could have a high level of confidence in that provision being in their city charter. It shines more sunshine, just as issue 6 did. I mentioned issue 6 requires the annual budget to be online, to be a permanent record. Issue 8 does the same thing for a number of other city records, such as the city bulletin, such as the minutes of city council meetings, such as the records, annual reports of the departments and divisions of the City of Columbus. All those would need to be accessible, all those would need to be online, all those would need to be permanently available. It requires that all those advisory bodies, such as area commissions, conduct all of their business in public, abide by public records statute, open meeting statutes. So all up and down the line, from the mayor's office all the way down to area commissions at the neighborhood level, all this business is conducted in full sunshine, in conformance with state laws pertaining to open records and open meetings. It would create a compensation commission to review city salaries every 4 years and make recommendations to council on what proper levels of compensation ought to be. We would still require city council to make any changes, so we're not taking that onus off of council. Council will still have to stand up and change those salary structures whenever they deemed it appropriate. But this would create a first step, a professional commission to look at compensation patterns in the city, in the county, in Central Ohio, and determine what should a professional salary be for a city auditor, a city attorney, city council members, and all that would be done under the Sunshine Law as well, in full public purview.
Wow, so and listening to 6, 7, and 8, I mean, I'm hearing transparency, I'm hearing accountability, and this is something to be taken very seriously at this election coming up, because this is something that is just, is just something by the wayside, but this truly makes an impact, on how the city operates as a city entity, but as a government, but also, how the community can really rely on that the elected officials and the city government is really looking out for their best interests.
We think there's a host of best practices in here. We think this, if these issues are adopted on November 4th, that Columbus will have a best practices city charter that will be a model for the country.
I can totally see that, and so we're happy that you guys have went through and made these recommendations and taken that effort. Well, let me go to you, Marshall. Why did the city use 3 issues for the 19 recommendations of the Charter Review Commission?
I want to echo Mike's comments. Again, I think the commission worked very hard on putting forth some very good recommendations to the charter, but it's one document and we have it here, and so it needs to be able to work together. And so issues 6, 7, and 8 put forth a package of ideas that, if approved by the voters, would allow the charter to still work. Of the 19 recommendations, some recommendations are dependent on another. So if one were to pass and the other one didn't, it would not allow the charter to work very well. So issues 6, 7, and 8, again, represent a package of issues that will allow that, if approved, will allow the charter to still work well. So that's why some of the recommendations that were put forth were not able to be packaged into those issues, because it would have been dependent on other sections, and the charter would not have worked well if some would have passed and some would not have passed.
Wow, so this has to be a package. They're intertwined.
Yes, because it's one document, and so it does have to continue to work well.
Wow, okay. Well, and speaking of the public, did the public have a chance to really get involved and comment on, some of these recommendations that you were doing? I don't know if you spoke a little bit about this earlier, but, was there that give and take and going back and forth and making the adjustments to make sure that the community side was heard in all of this? Mike?
Absolutely. The commission, as I said, met from April to July. In that time span, the commission had 9 public meetings. 2 of those were full-fledged public hearings. Everything we did was online at columbus.gov/charter. Every research document we looked at, every bit of testimony we took, all the recommendations that came to us from either the public or from department heads and division personnel throughout the city, all that material was put online. The public could submit recommendations and comments online. Many did. So we received commentary by email, by regular mail. Our proceedings were broadcast online. They were also broadcast by CTV. So we thought we did everything possible to make it an open, transparent process, and folks did take advantage of it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's good to know, because there's times when we hear about things being done without the citizens' input, without the community's input. And so this is, a very good thing to hear that they had that opportunity to have that input and make recommendations. Now, let me turn to you, Marshall, in regards to those recommendations. I'm sure there's a lot of recommendations that were made too, by the community at these particular meetings. Were there some that just weren't accepted? I mean, some that may be too far off to the left or to the right, weren't accepted by either the commission or the city?
Yes, there were some that were not accepted, but as Mike said, the process was very transparent. We were welcomed people to come in and give their recommendations, and some were accepted. But some the commission thought were not appropriate for the charter and would be better handled by other means, by city policy or ordinance, but not appropriate for the charter. So every recommendation was thoughtfully considered, but not all were accepted. There was a recommendation that had already been looked at by a previous commission related to the ward system. And this commission decided to rely heavily on the work done by a previous commission that looked at that very extensively and thought that to be responsible to all of the citizens of Columbus as opposed to citizens by ward was what was best for the city.
Okay. So Mike, let me turn to you. We've talked about issues 6, 7, and 8 and how important they are. But what if we get to the polls and that day and the citizens, the residents here of City of Columbus don't approve it? What happens? What is the impact?
Well, it would be very unfortunate because we would be stuck with a lot of cobwebs left in the charter that we're trying to clean out. We would lose the opportunity to raise the ethical bar for how we hold our elected officials accountable for their ethical behavior. We would be stuck with certain elections procedures that are 80 to 100 years old. We would fail to conform our city election procedures to what state law says about how elections are to be conducted. We would be an outlier, if you will, in terms of failing to bring that document up into 21st century standards. So I think should these issues fail, then the mayor and city council would have to go back and regroup and say, okay, well, how do we come up with a better plan to bring these types of recommendations back to the voters, because we couldn't give up. We'd have to figure out how to come back and do a better job of educating the citizenry, educating the electorate so that they would approve these sorts of things, because they are best practices. And hopefully we're doing that, we're doing our job, we're educating the voters so they can see that this is really good housekeeping type stuff and they'll be approved. But if not, we'll go back to the drawing board.
Now, one thing I've got to ask you also is, this doesn't involve taxes. This doesn't regard anything like that, but this is just good ethical standards as you speak of.
It's like updating your will. If you and your wife had a will drafted 20 years ago, when your kids were in diapers, perhaps, it's one thing. 20 years later, they're adults. Hopefully they're in college or they've graduated college, and it's a different situation. Your income is different, your status is different, your family structure is different. You might have grandkids. If you let that will sit in your desk drawer for 20 or 30 years, not updated, you're going to pay a price for that when it comes time to utilize that will. So this is the foundation document for the city. As times change, it needs to be kept up with those times. We've let it lapse too long. It's been too long since we've taken it out of that drawer, checked what provisions are antiquated, what provisions need to be brought into the modern era, and that's what this is all about. It's really good housekeeping stuff, and hopefully we're doing our job to get voters to see what it is so they'll approve issues 6, 7, and 8 on November 4th.
Mike and Marshall, I like to appreciate all the hard work that's apparently gone into this in this charter review, and you both being the co-chairs of the Columbus Charter Review Commission. It has been very helpful, the work that you put into this, and we look forward to seeing the outcome, come election day. And we're hoping for a positive outcome from what you're telling me, is that this is going to be, make some major impact on the city of Columbus.
We hope to pop a champagne cork the night of November 4th.
There you go. Well, I'll be right there with you. All right. For more information on the Charter Review Commission, please go to the city's website at www.columbus.gov. And next up, you're going to hear from Tony Teague. She's going to be sitting down with Stephen Centofanti of COAAA to learn more about what to do after retirement.
We're here today at the Martin J. Ennis Senior Center. It's part of Columbus Recreation and Parks, just in case you didn't know. So if the setting looks a little different, we've been getting out and into the community just so that you can see all of the magical, wonderful places and things that there are to do here. So our next guest is Mr. Steven Sensafonte. He is from the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. It's a long title, but what they do is quite simple. They care for people. So let's go to him. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You are so, it's our pleasure to have you. All right, so tell us, what does Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging do, or
Sure.
COAAA?
Sure, of course. Well, the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, COAAA, we're an agency founded in 1974, and we cover 8 Central Ohio counties, and one of the big programs within our agency is the Passport program. So we provide case management to older adults who are 60 and older, who have certain financial criteria and need help within the home. So we provide home care as an alternative to nursing home care, and some of the home care services that are provided include homemaker, emergency response, transportation, personal care. So we make sure that all of the services are being met by the providers that we work with. We make sure that the older adults are receiving those services.
So is there a cost to the families?
There is a financial requirement in order to qualify for Passport. So a lot of times the Passport consumers will be on Medicare and Medicaid. So you have to meet a certain income requirement. And we do have a screening service where if you do have any type of questions or inquiries, do I qualify for services? How do I get services? We do have screeners at our agency that could provide any type of question that you may have.
So where do people go to get more information?
Oh, sure, of course. You can go to our website. Our website is coaaa.org. We also have a 1-800 number. That is 1-800-589-7277.
Okay. And at what age, so at what point in life do people start thinking about reaching your organization?
Sure. We serve older adults that are over the age of 60. So around the age of 60, within their 60s, they may seek out our services because they need help living within their own home. So they may need a personal caretaker, or they may need just some type of assistance living within their own home. So if they have some type of physical impairment or some type of health ailment that they need assistance within the home, that's when they'll reach out to us at COAAA.
So you're feeling lucky that you work there because you're learning all about these services, and for that time when you get older, you already know what's available?
Sure. Oh, of course. Of course. It's really such a rewarding place to work. I'm very grateful, just the services that we provide to older adults and individuals with disabilities. It's extremely rewarding, and we love what we do.
That's amazing. I love that. So people are coming to your agency, and so I'm thinking about AARP. They're not sending me flyers. I don't know how I know this information, but they're not sending the flyer to me yet. But AARP does this amazing marketing that before you turn 55, they're sending you brochures so that you know about their organization. How are people finding out about you?
Sure, of course. We do advertisements within newspapers. We also do outreach via email marketing as well. We are on social media. We have social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
So you're looking forward to aging with the population.
Correct.
So are your older adults currently using those mediums to get to you, or is it their family members, or how is that working?
It's actually a combination of both. So if somebody needs help at home, a lot of times it could be a caregiver of the individual may need extra assistance, so they'll reach out to COAAA. Also, it could be the consumer itself that will need services, so they'll reach out to us as well. So we do our best to get as much information out into the public about us as possible, so that the public knows that we are here to help and that we are a resource for you for your aging questions, for your disability questions. We're here to help.
Right. So do you see that there's a bigger demand for your services? Because of course, as a population, we are aging.
Sure.
And, we've got baby boomers that are starting to go into retirement. So tell us about some of the changes that you're seeing and what that might mean for Central Ohioans.
Sure, of course. And as you just mentioned, we are living longer with advancements. Yes, and that's a good thing.
I got 100 going for
me. That's absolutely correct. We are living longer. Advancements in medication, advancements in medical life-saving procedures are just prolonging the life of individuals. So we're roughly at about 14% here within Franklin County who are 65 and older. To give you an idea of just how far we've come, in 1935, only 4% of individuals lived to be 65 or older, and now we're at 14%, and that number is just continuing to rise. By the year 2020, we're going to be close to 20% of people who are 65 and older living within Franklin County, Central Ohio. So the demographic is becoming larger, which in turn could result in more services needed. So it's, yeah, we're an aging population, we're living longer, and of course those...
It's nice to have the services to go with it.
Definitely.
How is your organization funded? Is it donations? Is it federal funding?
We are actually funded through state and federal grants, and we are within the City of Columbus as well. We're operated under the Recreation and Parks Department, so we are funded through federal and state grants.
Oh, so Martin Janus Senior Center feels like home to you.
Yeah, we've actually done the Senior Citizens Hall of Fame here for I believe 39 years now, and we just had a recent one back in the middle of May, and it's such a fantastic event, just honoring seniors who are just enriching the lives of everyone within their community. So it's a lot of fun.
That's really great. You have an event coming up.
We do. It is the Senior Living Festival, and that is through a partnership with us, COAAA, and also the Franklin County Office on Aging here in Columbus as well, along with the Senior Services Roundtable. Major sponsor is Giant Eagle also. It's a great event where seniors can come out, and it's specifically for seniors. There's going to be information exhibits, door prizes, live entertainment. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be at Hollywood Casino this year.
Oh, wow.
Because this will be the fourth year for the event, and we've always had it at the Veterans Memorial, but with the impending demolition with the recent closure,
right.
impending,
had to find a new venue.
We had to find a new venue that met our criteria for the time that we needed. And
Hollywood Casino stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. So it's going to be at Hollywood Casino October 31st. It's a Friday, from 10 until 2.
So I'm remembering that our segment is about, it's about living life and life after retirement. Mm-hmm. So talk to us not only about, so you've talked to us about the fact that you provide services for seniors who are in need. Mm-hmm. What other gifts are you saying? What else do they have to give?
Oh, sure, of course. Well, the great thing about seniors and working post-retirement, of course, a lot of times that Social Security or a pension doesn't cover the entirety of living expenses. So seniors are working past retirement and living 20 years or more after the age of 65. Right. You need that supplemental income. So a lot of it is experience. That's the great thing about seniors going into retirement. They can go back to work part-time. They can impart their knowledge and experience to younger employees, so they can be mentors to younger employees.
And some of them even becoming entrepreneurs?
Sure, of course. So the wealth of experience that you develop over a career, of course, entrepreneurship is great, and you can apply your skills into a career after your career. So.
Right. There's always life after retirement. That's wonderful. Well, we're so excited that you decided to spend a little time with us in your very familiar stomping grounds. Mm-hmm. Thank you for showing this to us.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
That was some great information, Tony, on what to do after retirement. But now that wraps up the show, but doesn't wrap it up for all of us. We want to make sure that you give our office a call. If you've got some great show ideas, call our office at 645-1993. That's 645-1993. You can ask for me, Napoleon Bell. But also, you can go to our website on Facebook. That's Columbus Community Relations Commission on Facebook, and be sure to like us there, and we will be sure to connect with you on Facebook also. Have a great week and take care.